Hi, this is Neil Clements, and this is The Real Deal with Neil. Today we're talking about one thing that I wish I knew when I started that made a huge difference for me in my real estate flipping career. Let's get into it. So the one thing that I wish I knew when I started was that everything revolves around finding a deal and nothing else is important until you find that deal. And so what I mean by that is that I feel like there are a lot of investors out there, anything from flippers to rental property investors to, I guess you could even call it multifamily guys, commercial guys, is that if you don't have an opportunity to work on, then there's no sense in going out and fundraising for an opportunity you don't have. If you don't have the money to do a deal and you're so concerned like, okay, well, I'll do a deal once I have the money. Well, it's like, how long is it gonna take you to get the money to do a deal? I mean, heck, you gotta save up, I don't know, 20 grand, 50 grand, $100,000 to try to do a deal. And even then you still have to get a loan to do the rest. And then there's other people that I talk to who say, okay, well, I just don't know enough. I don't know enough about it. Maybe I've read some books, I've listened to some podcasts, but the reality is that most people who say they don't know enough typically actually know a lot more than the average person about the subject. I was talking with somebody today and he was asking me, Neil, what books should I read so that I can build a successful real estate investing career? And I said, I know you well enough to be able to tell you that your gap is not knowledge. Your gap is 100% action. And this is a gentleman that I'd met, he interviewed to be on the team. And I was just candid with him is that any book that I tell you, you have already read. Or if you haven't read it, you've watched a podcast. Or if you haven't watched a podcast, then you listen to a video, you have talked with somebody else about it. And at this point, you have a knowledge action gap. All that you have is you know what you need to be doing, you know how to do it, but the reality is that you haven't taken the next step to actually make action toward it. And I feel like that's where most people get stuck, is the two biggest limiting beliefs, which are, I need money to do this deal, so I need to find the money first. Horrible limiting belief. Secondly, I need more knowledge than I currently have to do this deal. And while that may be true for some people, it is not true for most people. I would probably say 95% of people are just knowledge junkies and they just want to learn everything that they can about something and then not do anything about it. And that's really hard. And so the best advice that I could give my younger self, or I could give anybody listening to this, is that you need to go out there and you need to find a very, very good deal below market value. And then once you have the deal, you need to go figure out how to do the rest of everything else. Or partner with somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. Maybe on the first few of these, on these first few deals that you find, maybe you got to give up some equity because you have a really good partner who is going to be able to sell the property for you, be able to pay for it, do everything for you, maybe in the form of a funder. Or maybe you're like me and never wanted to have a funder, but maybe you want to have a partner who just kind of contributes your money for your down payment, maybe helps you renovate properties, helps you sell it. Okay, cool. Maybe you take a little bit more of it. And all of those are great things. And I will tell you this, is that how much you make on, say, your first 5 deals does not matter in the grand scheme of things. Because the reality is that as a real estate investor, if you're going to have a successful career over years, decades of your life, and you can identify good properties, you're not only going to be doing this once or twice. This is not going to be something that you're just doing for a limited amount of time, then you get out of it, or you don't make enough money to retire on your first 5 deals. And so how much you make is inconsequential to how much you can learn. And so on my very first deal, the house flip that I did, we made so many mistakes that we never repeated again, thank God. I think maybe my partner and I made $10,000 and split it 5 each. But that $5,000 that I made has allowed me to make so much more over the course of the past 5 or 10 years that I've been working on this. And I think it was Alex Ramosi who said, whenever you're taking on new clients in a new business, and I'm sure his was for more like gyms, just offer to train them for free. Train them consistently, get a client base, get some reviews, get some experience, actually learn how to do the thing you're doing by taking action. And then now you have some reviews, now you have some credibility, now you can go out and do it again. Well, in the same way, I would advocate not for losing money or not for buying really skinny deals just to do it, but get you a good, fat, juicy deal, get you it with a ton of equity, partner with somebody who knows what they're doing so that they can bring value to you and they can show you how to do it. And use them and use their knowledge so that you don't have to use them next time. And if you still don't get it after your first 3 times, well, do it another time, do it another time, do it another time. And so the best thing I can tell you is go find the deal, because having a true deal that's below market value, that has good equity, makes everything else, from financing to buying to selling to knowledge to you name it, makes everything else easier or unnecessary. And my fear is that so many people get caught behind the limiting beliefs of money, knowledge, time, whatever you want to tell yourself, that they just never get started. And so there's a saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And so if you're watching this short time that I have today to go through with you, I would really just encourage you to put yourself out there, to stop thinking that your hurdle is anything else except for finding a good deal. And so if you are not actively lead generating, if you are not talking to people, mailing potentially, looking on MLS, if you're not making offers, and you're not talking to people about real estate investing, you are not a real estate investor, right? Being a real estate investor implies that you're doing the actions of investing. Not that you know a lot about investing, but you're actually doing the actions of investing. And what is the most fruitful action for a flipper is going out and finding the deal, especially when you're just starting out. So I'm talking to you, whoever's listening to this, as much as I'm talking to myself continuously, because we have to go out and hunt, and we have to be reminded of that at different seasons of our life. And so I wish that somebody would have shared this with me as I was just getting started, which would be to go out and focus on the deal first and everything second. You do that successfully and everything else will fall into place. Hope this helps.